Welcome to the Millionaires mini-series with your hosts Stephanie Keith and Stacy Failing, here to set you up with the most luxurious version of yourself. This podcast is filled with wealthy women vibes and a sneak peek into the millionaire's lifestyle. Whether you're inner millionaire's dreams of taking private jets to deserted islands or you prefer the lighter side of luxury, we have an opportunity for you that is priceless.
Come join us as we share with you all of our juicy money secrets, mindset hacks, and so much more. Money may not buy happiness, but it can provide you with an abundant life beyond your wildest dreams. So turn up the volume, adjust your crown, and get ready to embrace your inner millionairess.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. So Stacy and I are cooking up something very exciting, so you'll have to stay tuned. We're going to tell you more about that pretty soon. We're still working out the details, but you're going to love it. I'm very excited. And today we thought that we would follow up on the last episode and just talk about the moment that we decided that we were going to ditch our 9-to-5 jobs. And I know this is something that we probably all dream about at some point or another. I know I did for a really long time. But I'm the type of person where I really didn't know if I was ever going to get to that point where I could just leave. And it was the typical golden handcuff situation where I had really good pay, good benefits, a company car, which that was a big one for me because it was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to go buy a car and get insurance and pay for gas. And I hadn't had to do any of that since I left college. And so it was really hard for me to walk away from that. And it just got to a point where things got really difficult in my job. So for the longest time, I had good managers, great team members, and I never really was that miserable. I wasn't passionate about my job, but I wasn't miserable either. And then my company went through this entire restructuring, and I ended up getting a new boss that was like the boss from hell. I mean, literally, it was awful. And something that was just kind of this unspoken rule in my job, it was a sales job, was that if your numbers look good, then no one's going to bother you. And we had a lot of free time. We kind of made our own schedule since we weren't clocking into an office. We were just driving around and visiting customers. And so every boss that I ever had, they totally understood, okay, you've got a little kid, if you need to take her to school or whatever, that's fine. Just make sure your numbers look good. And if your numbers start dropping, just know people are going to start asking questions, and then you're going to have to, put in more hours or whatever. And that was kind of this unspoken rule, and it worked great for me. Well, when this new manager came in, she just was not like that. And she started targeting me and this other girl who also had young kids. And she would constantly bring up the fact that we were moms and question us. Over summer, she would ask well, what summer camp is she going to enroll in? What time does it end? What time does it start? And it was just so inappropriate, the questions she would ask. And she totally picked on us because we had kids, and she felt well, you're going to put your kids before your job. And so it got to be so ridiculous, but I still had great numbers. In fact, I was the top of our district. And I remember we were in this meeting with her boss and her boss's boss, and we had to give this whole presentation on our numbers and our business and blah, 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 this whole business plan. So my numbers were looking great. And so I kind of said that I'm I'm doing really good, and I'm up this amount. It was up 20% or something. And she just looked at me and she said, Stephanie, not everything is about you. Mm-hmm. And just because your numbers look good doesn't mean that my numbers look good. And so you should be worried too. And so that was kind of the moment where I'm okay, if I am going to catch hell for having really good numbers, then that's ridiculous. And I need out. This is absolutely insane. And that's when I was really like, this sucks. Like, this woman's crazy. Well, then a couple weeks later, she has me meet her in this hotel lobby, and she sits me down and like starts going through my computer and my schedule. And I felt like I was in an FBI interrogation for like half the day. It
Oh my
was just,
gosh, that sounds awful.
it was awful. And I was like, kind of debating, like, what do I do? Do I just tell her to F off? Do I call HR? Like, how do I proceed? Because this is so inappropriate. And mind you, like, my numbers were great. Like, I was making her a shit ton of money. And so it was in that meeting, like as she was talking, I realized I'm done. I
Mm.
am so done. And I got into my car and just completely broke down. And I just put it out to the universe. I was like, I'm done. Like, lead the way. Give me an opening, give me a path. I need out. Like, I need to have a sign that I'm gonna be okay. And I found out I was pregnant. And after trying for so long and not thinking I was never going to be able to have any more kids, and I knew, like, I instantly knew, okay, this is my sign. Like, I am going to leave and I'm going to raise this baby and not work. And I'm never coming back from maternity leave. And that was um exactly what happened. So I think that the moral of that story is, if you're like me and you just cannot bring yourself to do it, ask the universe for help, ask for a path to open up, ask for a sign, and you'll be amazed at what comes forward, um, and like right in your face so that you can't miss it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I would have had such a hard time. I totally would have wanted to tell her to F off, but I'm like a professional person. And so I wouldn't ever be able to do that. But oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it would have been so hard to not.
Oh
I
my gosh. I always dreamed about like one day just telling her off, like letting her know I'm not coming back after maternity leave, but I never did. I like left things on good terms and just kind of like, let it go, and thought, okay, well, maybe it's a good thing, because if she wasn't so awful, I probably would still be there today. So
yeah.
she was part of this whole path that I'm on.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big believer in not burning bridges because you just never know. But for sure, that just has to irritate you to no end. And for me, it was the building of it. It was all leading up to, and it was that moment when I was just like, okay, I'm just going to take this leap. It was, everything that I had been working on, and it just that moment happened. It was a clear sign. And what actually made it so that I was able to do that was when you and I collaborated and started doing our millionaire stuff, and that started to take off. And it was just the universe giving me a sign that there is another way, and I can build my own financial security outside of that. I don't have to put up with that. And I was a supervisor for a team of nurses who you would think are grown ass adults, professionals at that. We all had pretty good degrees, to get to where we were.
Yeah.
You would think that they were able to manage themselves as an adult. Nope. I was literally corralling teenagers most of my day, to where like I was getting so distracted with personnel issues that I couldn't even focus on the tasks at hand to run my programs. And I was doing that. I was very successful at running my programs, but I was getting so burnt out with this pity stuff that I was having to deal with. And I'm like, I will never, and I'm not a micromanager. I'm all about like, you show up for work, you're an adult. I'm not going to sit there and have you be under my thumb 24/7, because I don't want to do that. And as long as your work is getting done, then that's fine. But they were like raising red flags. They were just putting their foot in their mouth on their own. And I'm just like, you guys, like, what is
Yeah.
going on? And I had a great supervisor who was always very supportive. And that was so helpful. And honestly, probably why I stuck around as long as I did, because I felt bad. I didn't want to leave her with my mess, because I knew that she was going to be the one to take over. But at the end of the day, I couldn't let that hold me back from what I was doing. And it was just like, I hit my breaking point. I'm like, I can't do this. This is taking the love and passion that I have for the work that I'm doing completely out. And I'm just babysitting all day long. And I couldn't do that, because I I want to love the work that I do. And I feel like so many of us are just stuck in this job that doesn't fulfill us in any way other than we get a paycheck and we get health benefits. And I just got so sick of that. And so for me, it was, setting myself up and knowing, at some point I wanted to get out of that. I didn't know what that looked like, but taking those actionable steps. I was listening to the podcast, I was taking courses. You and I were creating things to start to gain some momentum. And once that momentum started going, it just took off. And I was able to sign my resignation letter and send it in before I thought I was ever going to be able to. And the funny thing was, and Steph, this, but when I put my resignation in, both of my supervisors, so her supervisor, came to me and proposed this offer of, taking a lot of this off my plate, and that, the bad people will weed themselves out, and they were going to do everything that they could to support me, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. However, they waited too long. And I'm like, maybe if this conversation would have happened like 4 months ago, it could have been different. But just like you, I'm so glad that it didn't, because I probably would still be there. And so it's just like, know your worth, because I felt very appreciated when they offered that to me. But at the same time, I'm like, if you really appreciated me, and I had come to them with my concerns a few times, and while they listened, there really wasn't any action behind it. So I'm like, okay, here I am just stuck in this monotony all day long. And then after I put my resignation in, that's when they decided to take action. And I just thought about it, and I'm like, I don't think this is for selfless reasons. I think this is because that it's going to be difficult to replace this position, and you don't want that on your shoulders. So you're going to work with me now that I'm out the door, and so I thought about it, and I'm like, I appreciate that so much. And that sounds amazing, but I'm going to have to say no, because I was finally at peace with that decision that I had made. I sat there for months planning, preparing, setting that momentum. And then for them to do that, it just was like, it didn't feel good. So I'm like, I'm going to listen to my gut on this one. As tempting as that sounds, I'm out. And sometimes that's just all it takes, is that nudge and saying, that doesn't feel right to me. And I still want to go and pursue this thing that is really pushing me towards this direction that I want to go in.
And aren't you happy that you did? Like, do you have any regrets that you left?
No, not
Same here.
I think about it, and I miss people, and, kind of having I felt like I was going to lose my sense of purpose, but then I ended up finding more purpose in the things that I'm doing now than I ever did at my job. So it all worked out. It was really cool. And I don't ever want to go back.
Yeah. And that's something that I looked at when I was still in my job, is I looked at all of these online entrepreneurs that I was following that had left their jobs, and I hadn't heard one single person say they regretted it or go back to their job. And so I'm like, if every single person is happy they did this, then I know I will be too. And it's true. I've never regretted it once. The only thing I regret is that I didn't do it sooner.
Exactly. Yeah. And like I said, though, had they had those conversations with us before, or, something had changed, who knows where we'd be. So I'm a big believer in that everything works out the way that it should, and no regrets.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is like knowing your worth and knowing that, you know what, I don't deserve to go through this anymore. And they had plenty of opportunities to help make things better and didn't. And so, sorry, I'm out. I am out. And it's so funny because it's like, once you leave, I don't know, at least for me, I kind of like looked at the amount I was making in my paycheck that I thought was so amazing. And now I look at that amount and I'm like, that is like a mediocre or like not great month. And here I thought it was so great, but now I'm working less. There's like no stress and I'm making more. And so it's just funny, like how I really like the money was what was keeping me to that job. But once I left, there was like so much more abundance to be had. So it's like, you really never know until you just go for it. And I told myself, if I ever did regret it, I could always go find another crappy sales job. But of course, I'm never going to do that, because I'm completely happy without the 9-to-5 grind.
Exactly. And it's, like we talk about, when you open up that space, you allow for other things to come in. And when you you're absorbed in your career, you don't really have any available space or time or, energy to allow any of that to come in. So when you let it go, it's like the universe goes, okay, I will bring you all these other things now in a much better way. And the thing is too, Steph, and I'm sure you feel this way, but even if you feel appreciated at your job, my director didn't say this about me. She was talking about one of my staff members, but it just didn't sit right with me. And it made me really think, okay, if that's how you feel about this person, that's how you feel about everybody here. And I don't know that I want to work for somebody or for an institution that thinks of people this way. But she said to me, oh, everybody's replaceable. And I was just like,
Yeah.
whoa, this is so true. And, I knew that, but to hear it come out of her mouth again, wasn't directed at me, but I'm like, okay, that's not okay. And so just think about that. If you leave, are they really going to give a shit? Like, how valuable are you? How appreciated are you? And now that we are in the space that we're in, I feel so much more authentic connection and I feel more value. I have better relationships in the professional space that I do feel appreciated. And I know that the people that I work with and I connect with are authentic and they're people that are my people. The things that
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing are attracting the right people in my life. And that feels so good because it's like we build this tribe and they're loyal to you. And at any job that I've been in, like I said, even if you felt appreciated, are you really there? And are they really loyal to you? Like what you could potentially have on your own by attracting all the right people because you're able to step into that space. Did you find this similar shift when
Oh
you
my
started to
gosh.
go on your own?
Huh. Yes. We had layoffs like every 6 months. So they let us know on a regular basis that if you're at the bottom of the barrel with your numbers, you're gone. So you never, like, we always knew we were nothing but a number to them. Like, they did not care. And then my manager, I mean, she talked so much crap about everyone on my team to me. And so I was like, well, obviously you're talking about me too. Like, you
Exactly.
know what I mean? So I did not feel appreciated one bit. And I'm like, why am I even bothering? Like, this woman got a great bonus because of me. And that kind of pisses me off. So
Yeah.
it was like, I did not feel appreciated whatsoever. But like you said, I feel appreciated now. And it's just different. Like when you're living in your purpose and you're doing what you're truly, meant to do, you just, it's like you don't need that validation. You just feel like fulfilled and happy. And it's like, you're doing good in the world. And it doesn't really matter. Like that stuff just kind of goes out the window. And so it's a completely different feeling, in my opinion, I think.
Yeah. I 100% agree. Yep.
Yeah.
No regrets.
Yep. So yeah, if anyone needs that little nudge, then this is your sign. You will not regret it. And worst case scenario, if you do regret it, you can always go get another mediocre job. I mean, they're always out there, but you can't always fulfill your dreams. Like you're going to spend the rest of your life wondering how could it have been differently? And am I missing something? And you don't know until you go for it. So, if you're like on the edge and you don't know what to do, I say go for it, knowing you can always go back to the 9 to 5 worst case scenario.
Yeah.
So hopefully
And,
that motivates everyone.
and
And
just get started,
yes,
just start doing something to get you in the direction that you want to go. Even if you don't know what the end result looks like, even if you have no idea what it is that you want to do, just start somewhere. Just get on the mind track of this isn't going to be my forever.
yeah, yep. Take some sort of action. And I feel like when you take that action, the path reveals itself. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times we think the path will reveal itself first. Like we have to know how, we have to have that direction. That's not how it works. You've got to take the action. And as you take the action, like you are creating the path. So just get started. Don't procrastinate any longer. And you're going to be glad that you got started now rather than a year from now being in the same exact place thinking, man, I wish I would have gotten started a year ago.
Yeah. The universe is waiting for you to clear out some space so they can,
Mm-hmm.
get you started in the right direction for sure.
Yep. Well, we have the Millionaires program available. So for anyone that was interested in the mastermind and couldn't make the live calls, we know there were people all over the globe, different time zones. So we bundled up all of the replays. Those are available. It's 90% off. So you can get that now. And that is going to help give you all of the mindset work, all of the things to get you in that high vibrational place so that you have the motivation to move on to your true purpose. And I know in the masterminds that we've had in the past, there were people that went from full-time to part-time. There were people that decided, you know what, I'm going to start a podcast, I'm going to start a business. And so you never really know where it's going to take you, but know that in those 6 weeks, the mindset shift, the energetic shift that takes place within you will propel you on a whole new exciting path and align you with your purpose and just give you that little nudge, because sometimes we need that. It's hard to do anything on our own. Sometimes we need that little bit of motivation and that energetic shift to really get, aligned with our purpose and take that first step. So we'll link all of that for you guys, and stay tuned because we have something really exciting we're putting together and we're going to talk to you about it very soon. So we'll see you back here next week.